We'd like to remind you that the virtual experience is a movie, and it will continue no matter what choices you make. For a better enjoyment, we advise you to follow the instructions of the lector. Warning: the virtual experience includes dark scenery and tight places. If you're claustrophobic or afraid of the darkness, you might feel uncomfortable during the movie. You're watching at your own risk. Hello, my name is Evelina Zaval, and I'll be your host throughout this underwater adventure. Together, we're going to explore the wonders of Mexican waters. To be specific, Yucatan Peninsula. We're going to start our trip with cenotes. Cenotes are a deep natural well, or sinkhole, formed by collapse of surface limestone that exposes groundwater underneath. Fun fact: in the past they were used by ancient Mayans for sacrificial offerings. Mayans drowned people in them to please their gods. To this day we can find sculptures of Mayan gods near some of the cenotes. So how did cenotes appear? Well, they were made because rainwater absorbed carbon dioxide, creating an acid. The acid, although weak, fell through the cracks in the limestone and slowly dissolved it, thus creating a cenote. Cenotes are very dark places that remind us of caves, but there is one huge difference between the two: the light. Even though a cenote is dark, you should be always able to see the light, no matter which part of cenote you are in. We are able to do so because of the crystal clear water in the cenotes. However, it is not always the case. All known cenotes in Yucatan Peninsula are connected by a web of caves, so if you wander far enough to be slightly in caves, you won't be able to see the light. Speaking of light, in my opinion it is the most beautiful part of the cenote. The way it enters the water is a very mesmerizing and a beautiful spectacle to watch. Did you know that the color of water and lighting is determined not only by the part of the day, but also the plants that grow around the cenote? Because of that, even the water in the same cenote can have different colors in different places. Like I said before, cenotes are filled with groundwater, which is very clean in Yucatan cenotes. But this water has more interesting parts than just being crystal clear, because in these cenotes there is both sweet and salty water. It happens since cenotes are so close to the ocean. Water from the ocean entered the cenotes, and it created a layer of salty water underneath the sweet one. Because of this, we can see a small part of water, where salty and sweet water mix. It's called a halocline. The halocline can be maximum 1 meter vertically wide. Somehow, in the same aqueon, there can be even 2 haloclines. But how? It is beyond my understanding. The cenotes, just like the caves connecting them, are filled with stalactites hanging from the ceiling, stalagmites growing from the floor, and stalagmites connecting both floor and the ceiling, looking like they are making sure that the cenote won't collapse. Any fan of Ender's Game would say that the cenotes look like an old home of formats, abandoned and deprived of life, only to be filled with water later on. Deprived of life is a good description for cenotes, as not many things live there. Plants usually grow only at the top of the cenotes, but there are some exceptions. If the light reaches deeper parts of the cenote in a way that's more than just being visible, then plants might grow there. As for the animals, my reliable source managed to catch only 4 species on camera, one of them being a shrimp and 3 of them being fishes. All of the animals were small, so it's either that it's hard for them to live there, or they're just young. Let's finally begin the part about scuba diving, shall we? But first, let's exhaust ourselves with the worst part of the scuba diving. Before you get inside of the water, first you need to tire yourself so much that 70% of your energy is gone. This fascinating phenomenon that has been a nightmare to all of the scuba divers since the beginning of this sport is called dressing up. The process is extremely exhausting and time-consuming. Of course, every diver that respects himself will put his equipment together on his own and dress himself up without help as much as he can. Other divers might help you a bit, but remember, you're not the only one getting underwater. The others have to be ready to go there too. Finally, after you're dressed up, you can get inside of the water. Oh wait. First, you need to carry your over a dozen kilogram equipment down a hill to a CNET. If you like this sport, well, Get used to carrying weights on your back and pray to God that your destination isn't far away. On the side of the equipment, what do you take underwater? 1. A wetsuit, or dry suit if you prefer. You don't want to get cold. That's why every time you want to scuba dive, you go through torture to put these on. 2. Diver's ABC, meaning a mask, fins, and a snorkel, although the last one is optional. You need to see something and move one way or another. 3. A jacket. It's not your regular jacket. It's a very important part of the equipment that keeps you from dropping like a heavy stone on the bottom of the CNET. For everyone that doesn't know what this is, it's the black backpack that's glued to the bottle with the air. 4. Diving cylinder. That's the bottle with the air. 5. Regulator. That's the thing you put in your mouth to breathe. 6. Manometer. It tells you how much air you have left. And then you have the less important ones, like the diving computer, flashlight, knife, etc. But at least one person in your group should have a computer, because you might have some serious problems if you go too deep without it. So how do you move in a CNET? I bet you already know since you've been watching CNETs all this time. In CNETs, you move with a guide, slowly in the line, swimming along the so-called railing line. Before we move on, quick guessing question. How many people are usually in a group? A. 3 plus guide. B. 6 plus guide. C. 4 plus guide. The answer is C. It's usually 4 plus guide, because 5 people in total won't take too much space, and 4 people can be taken care of easily with one guide. Going back to the railing line. It's the line that shows the way through the CNET, so no one will get lost. If you looked carefully, you probably saw it a few times throughout the movie. Now, thanks to the magic of teleportation and editing, we travel to a different place, a coral reef. As you can see, we are now in a coral reef. You might be a little surprised about the colors. They're not as vibrant as they are in the movies, because all of the professional movies use both filters and a better lighting in the water. The truth is that the deeper you go, the more colors start to fade. First one fading away is red, and then all of the warm colors. The deeper you go, less and less color will appear. The coral reefs are places where the most of the underwater life is happening. We can see how this place contrasts with the CNETs. Reach out your hand and tap the screen 2 times to pause the video. Now look around. Find as many animal species as you can, and count them all. How many did you find? There are 6 animal species visible in this frame. I want you to focus. I'll be showing you a lot of species, and it will be your job to identify them. I'll be pausing the video from now on. Ready? Begin. you were able to experience the beauty of the coral reefs. Now, what would you do if you learned that these coral reefs are being destroyed by inexperienced divers? There are many agencies that take non-divers for scuba diving. They give them a 30-minute training and then tank them into the ocean. Because of that, they aren't used to the equipment and they're hurting the coral reefs. One man saw the problem of coral reefs being hurt by divers and tourists and decided to do something. He thought about what to do to help the reefs but still let the divers dive. The man's name is James DeClaris Tyler, and he figured out how to do just that. Our next destination is an underwater museum made by him to help the coral reefs. What is this underwater museum? It's an underwater area filled with environmentally safe statues that over the time were inhabited by different amounts of species. It's a place for scuba divers to go diving without hurting the coral reefs. And the natural life on the statues isn't hurt either, because it's easier to maneuver in a museum than it is in a coral reef. Each sculpture is created using non-toxic, pH-neutral marine-grade cement, free from harmful pollutants, becoming an integral part of the local ecosystem. The cement is highly durable, with a rough texture, so it's easier for the coral larvae to attach and grow in the sculptures. The museum is placed on a flat surface, with nothing really around it, so it also provides you with a beautiful view at the ocean's horizon. A horizon that makes the ocean look never-ending and endless. This small part of the underwater world has shown us so much beauty, but the horizon we see hides many more places to discover. A world full of wonders that go beyond even the wildest parts of your imagination.